Alright, so before we get started, I want to talk about the OneFootball app, which is my go-to football app for all of my footballing needs. To be very honest, if I have to know about any news about my favorite teams, my favorite leagues, I will go to the OneFootball app. It contains lineups for all of my matches. It also gives me updates about my favorite players, by the way, because all you have to do is just click on the bell icon on top of your favorite players and you will get real-time updates about when they score a goal, when they give an assist, or when they are involved in a team which wins a particular game. So for example, Kai Havertz scores a goal, bam, you get the update about it on your OneFootball app. So what are you waiting for? Just download the OneFootball app from the link in the description below, and I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy it. All right, hi guys, welcome to another episode at Adidev's Guru Gyan, and आज काफी एक special episode है for all of the people who probably are living under a cocoon. Uh, Chelsea women have tasted success yet again on the women's football circuit, and who better than to probably have a kind of a women's football connoisseur on this particular podcast, at least for us, for all of us football fans. राधा गुप्ता, अगर आप उनको चाहते हो फॉलो करें, प्लीज शी टॉक्स पॉल पे जाएं एंड आपको amazing women's football content milega. She's been doing an amazing job in terms of promoting women's sports in general, not just football but even cricket in general. She's doing an amazing job there. So we'll just get to know more about how Chelsea women have reached the stage that they have reached so far, and also a little bit about Radha as well. So Radha, how are you?
I'm doing very well. That was a very, very sweet introduction, and I'm really glad to be here. Very happy with Chelsea winning quite a bit. So, yeah, doing good.
Perfect, perfect. So rather a little bit, just a little bit about yourself. I think to all the viewers who probably don't know, can you just share a little bit more about your journey? Because from, like, I think you had a very small setup, शुरुआत में, like you had a very
Hmm.
small setup, and now you've got a few accolades in your cabinet as well. So if you
Yeah.
can just talk to us about this whole journey so far for you, how has it been for you, and how overwhelmed are you by this?
Yeah, look, it's both edges of the spectrum because I started She Dogs Ball about 15, 16 months ago with the idea that there is a market for this and I'm entering a place that I know is going to like where I will explode or where this kind of content
Right.
will explode. So on one hand, I was expecting that. But on the other hand, you're doing something, you're starting from scratch. You're always like, is this going to work out? So there was always nerves at the beginning. I was like, I'm just going to do this because I enjoy it and because I have time on my hands. I'm going to get into this, and I started with making conversation content coverage, which is the main idea of and like promoting anything very simply. You can just make content around it. So that's how it started. I had expectations, but I didn't realize it will actually happen and happen so quickly. But
Right.
again, that's just reinforcing the fact that there is a market for women's football, there is a demand there. So it's been quite an amazing journey. I've made a lot of new connections with people who are as passionate about it as I am. I've been in a lot of recordings and podcasts, such as this one, to share my two bits, but also learn a lot from the people who are on the call. So I think without She Talks Ball, I probably would not have been as invested in women's sports in the coverage or the media side of it as I currently
Right.
am. And I've just the journey has been incredible. Yeah, you're talking about the accolades. I got nominated for a few. For the platform of the year, by On Her Side in their annual awards, and I think with
You were
voting,
second,
Indians.
no, in the women's football platform of the year award. You were second, right? At that, like
So
in
I
the
was, so personally, I was rather like I was nominated for Content Creator of the Year, I think, and
theater.
She Talks
Yeah.
Ball was nominated for Platform of the Year. So She Talks Ball won because with voting, I think it's very hard for Indians to lose online polls with just because the sheer number of people that we are. So She Talks Ball won
So
first. I
true.
came second. So yeah, that was quite special. That was the most recent thing that stands out in the She Talks Ball career so far.
But again, another special thing is you hosting a show on Chelsea's page. I mean, the first time when you were actually featured on Chelsea's page with your fan story, like, can you just share how excited you were at that particular point of time? What is the first reaction? Just that. What was the first reaction when you got featured on the page, and after that you got your property? What was your first reaction?
Oh yeah, it was insane. It was crazy. I mean, I was sweating through the whole process. conversation during that interview, and then they said, "Oh, we have a little surprise for you. Open your phone." And then there was a message from Sophie Ingalls saying, "Hey Radha, thanks for supporting Chelsea." You know, that
Oh, yeah.
typical thing they do to
Yeah.
surprise fans. And I was
Right.
like, I was really, really like on top of the world at that point. And I little did I know or even could have imagined that I would have a full season of episodes with players and interviewing them. It's been a wild, wild ride, but yeah, it's been absolutely phenomenal.
Super. Talking about phenomenal, let's come straight to the topic, and that is Chelsea FC women back-to-back league wins and 11th major trophy for with Chelsea for Emma Hayes this time. So even though Hayes side lifted the Women's Super League, Manchester City were coming into that particular level where they look scary. They're probably like the men's
Yeah,
team, and
yeah.
in the final as well, they were at full strength. So you probably look at that team sheet, you're looking at some great names, and then you have a Chelsea team who have been carefully built up over the past 5 to 10 years. But we'll come to the longevity of that later on. First
Mhm.
reactions on the game, and how were the nerves before the game and after the game? What were your reactions after that?
Yeah, looking at the team sheet, you're surprised that Man City hasn't done better, hasn't like done better in the WSL, because that lineup in the FA Cup final was absolutely terrifying. And the fact that Chelsea have had almost do or die games for the past couple of months in the WSL title race with Arsenal, they're really tired, they're exhausted. They've been partying a little bit too much also after winning the WSL. So coming to this FA Cup final, I
Yeah,
was I was
yeah.
really nervous. I was like, this is the last game of our season, and we cannot have Man City take a trophy from us. They took the Conti Cup from us a couple of months ago, so it was revenge time. And I knew it was going to be a match worthy of a final, just because both lineups, both 11s on the sheet were absolutely insane. And I think we saw that with the scoreline 3-2. It was a game worthy of an exhibition.
Lovely. And but this success comes at a time when Chelsea as a club in itself is pretty much embroiled in a lot of behind the scenes drama. So
Yeah.
as a player, even if you step into the shoes of those players, even if you step into the shoes of the manager at that particular point of time, you would have a tendency to be drawn into it at some point of time. But you got to give credit to Emma Hayes for probably stepping out of it and concentrating on the job at hand, and believing and letting her players believe that let's just concentrate on the job at hand. How difficult do you think that would be for Emma Hayes to do?
It's really difficult. It's difficult on a day-to-day basis for athletes to not read criticism or poor coverage about them and still go out there with a good mental headspace and perform to their best. Coupling all of that with your club literally on its knees, sponsors backing out, no certainty about what's to come, and that can really take a toll on you. So for the players and for the management and Emma Hayes on top of that entire pile, to keep the troops together, rally them, and keep them focused on the goal at hand. The best thing that Chelsea teams can do at this stage of where the club is at is to win trophies, is to show the world that
Right.
this team, regardless of what's happening with management or ownership, even if you don't have flights to go for your Champions League match or whatever it is, you are going to put in your 100%. And I think that's the epitome of an athlete having mental resilience, and of course, physical resilience just comes with hard work and training. But I think this season, towards the end, we really saw some very, very strong mentality monsters, as you say. It
Yep.
it played out perfectly in the last couple of months, because what the Chelsea teams have gone through, I don't think any teams have gone through in a lot of years. So
Yeah.
kudos to Emma Hayes and the entire staff and the players, of course, for showing up the way they did constantly.
Now let's just solely focus on Emma Hayes right now, because this team, as I said, we'll talk about the longevity of this team building later on, and I think this is the time to probably talk about it. uh, Emma Hayes has probably built this team in since around 10 years. She's spent around 10 years actually integrating her belief and her tactical style of play and the way she wants her players to be. Uh, do you think that is a lesson for probably every other professional team, whether it is participating in the women's division, whether it is participating in the men's division, doesn't matter? Is longevity the way to go rather than just living in the present?
I mean, you can only speak from what you see. And I think the
Yeah.
answer would be a big yes here, because Emma Hayes had a clear vision that I'm going to stick around for a while and I'm going to do something great. And longevity, you can have longevity, but if you don't have stability, then it counts for nothing. So the fact that Emma Hayes has stuck around, but also gained the trust of the players, also recruited not only great players, but great humans. And in fact,
Right.
in the few episodes that I've done with Chelsea and spoken to players, and we always ask them about Emma Hayes. We ask them what your experience, what your relationship has been with her, and they constantly say like she's a great manager, she's got a really good football mind, but she's a great human, and she ensures that
Right.
the environment within the camp is not just one of intensity and pressure to perform and excel, but also camaraderie, chemistry, because that's what makes a team. And so she says that it's very clear as a Chelsea fan, someone who watches the team every weekend, that they're not just insane players. There's some personalities that you want to follow and be, kept, you want to keep in touch with their day-to-day lives, because they're just inspiring people in general. So I think Emma Hayes, for sticking around, but sticking around in the fashion that she has, where assistant managers and goalkeeping coaches want to come to Chelsea. They want to be there and work with her. They want to not just work with
Even
the players.
even correct
Yeah.
me if I'm wrong. She was linked to the England job as well in the middle, and she's still
Oh
linked
yeah.
to the City job as well in the middle. She's not let any of that probably play in her mind, and
Oh
she's just
yeah.
yeah.
It's been crazy. I mean, Emma Hayes is very, very much in demand. So the fact that she's staying at Chelsea is purely of her own choice. It's not because of compulsion, because she can go wherever in the world she wants to. Many managers use
Hmm.
success in the women's game as a stepping stone to a more high profile, more high paying
Right.
overseas job or whatever it is. You talk about England, you talk about AFC Wimbledon. At some stage, she was linked with that job as well. So
Correct.
she will have
Correct.
opportunities constantly. I'm sure every year, every month, she's getting emails from different clubs, but she's sticking around because she she
Hmm.
knows what she's building here. It's the investment that she's
Right.
putting in. She wants to stick around and reap the rewards. And as you mentioned, 11 trophies in the cabinet. She probably needs a new cabinet, very, very soon.
Exactly, man. Exactly. I
So
think I
it's
think I think the I think there are more people coming in to probably build that cabinet at a home.
yeah,
So I think that's pretty much going to happen soon. So,
yeah,
but the other facet to this is keeping a certain core of players at the club in these 10 years. I think
yeah,
that also plays a major part in the whole praise that we are giving to Emma Hayes, because during the span of 10 years there are a certain amount of players who have played for a really long period of time within
yeah.
Chelsea, and that has just made her job pretty much easier. I think that's also a way to actually look at it.
Absolutely. And so, one thing a manager can do is make 25 different bonds and say that, hey, you have to stick around, keep constantly pulling 25 different players back. What she does is she makes a good environment. And so, all Emma Hayes has to do is ensure the environment is fine. And if the environment is fine, the
Right.
players want to stick around. So the idea, it's
Right.
not, she's not chasing them saying, hey, you stick around, hey, sign a contract. She's just saying, this is the environment you're going to get to play in every single day. And they are like, where is the paper? I want to sign the extension now.
Hmm.
So that's what she does really. I mean, I'm sure she's got like great chemistry with each player, and she's obviously they want to stick around to play under her, but she has just
Right.
fostered this camp where people want to sign extensions. Fran Kirby, G Soyan, I mean, G is leaving now, but Pernilla
Yeah.
Harder, Sam Kerr, are you kidding me? They can go anywhere in the world.
Exactly.
Emma
Exactly.
Hayes
You took.
along with, yeah,
Yeah. 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 Please go
literally.
on. Please go on.
No,
Yeah.
I
Please
mean,
go on.
I was going to say Emma, along with these high profile stars, can go anywhere in the world, and they choose Chelsea. And I think that speaks volumes.
That does speak volumes, and I think the next level, that the level you need to actually level up every season, right? So I think they would be looking at the elusive Champions League trophy,
Yeah.
because yeah, that is something that is, I think, still eluding us currently, and bafflingly so, to be very honest, because the way we have dominated the English circuit just speaks volumes, but then it doesn't matter much when it comes to the European circuit there, because we can't actually boast of any recent European trophies, to be like, correct me if I'm wrong. So that is the next step, right? If I'm right there.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And the fact of the matter is that no English women's club can boast of recent European success. I mean, Arsenal had some
Exactly.
back in 2007, 8, but like, let's be real, that's long gone. So the fact is that no English club has been managed to do it. And for English clubs, English success is their first goal. And I think Chelsea can say comfortably that they've done that. So clearly, European success is next for us.
Subtle digs at Arsenal there. The London rivalry still remains. So, so that's
Always,
great to
always.
that's great to hear as a Chelsea fan. Always love such subtle remarks. But
Yeah.
you took the names of two players. Let's get to those two players. Ji So Yun. She's leaving right now. She was a pretty
Hmm.
she's a pretty key figure when it comes to creating for that particular system that Emma Hayes has for the women's team.
Yeah.
So how much, and also the fact that she is one of those foreign players who attracts a lot of marketing opportunities from foreign markets like the Asian market, which is very huge
Right.
for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how hard will that loss be for Chelsea?
Oh, it's going to be really tough. It's going to be one of the toughest, probably, losses in the WSL for English football in general because she's been
Right.
here since 2014. And as
Right.
you mentioned, the Asian market is huge to the extent that
Because
when,
correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah,
There are only three players from South Korea to have ever played in the Premier League, right? Sorry, not in the Premier League, in the WSL, right? West Ham and Spurs. There was Cho So Yun. Then there was Brighton's League
League
Women
women,
and
yeah,
Bristol City's Joen Gayul. So I think these are the only players to have played. So South Korean players to have played in the Premier League, right? Correct me if
yeah,
I'm
I
wrong.
mean, I don't have the exact numbers on hand, but there's been just
Very
very
few.
few,
Yeah.
very, very few, just been scattered around here and there. And G has clearly been the most proficient, the most well known, and the most probably successful as well. So the fact that she's leaving, going back to South Korea, is a big blow for Chelsea, a big blow for viewership coming into the WSL. We need to make sure that that viewership sticks around. And hopefully, English football has proven to be entertaining enough that even if G, the creator, isn't there, people will watch. People from the South Korean market at least will watch. But look, G is an exceptional player, and we often like don't recognize her goal scoring skills because she's a creator, but she's scored enough important goals for us
Yeah.
as well. So I think it comes down to the fact that Emma Hayes, we have to trust that Emma Hayes has recruited someone who is already at Chelsea, probably maybe a Jesse Fleming kind of character, who has learned under G, who has played alongside her, and will step into that role when G, who is now going to part, is going to go back to South Korea. So I think I trust that Emma Hayes has that in mind because she knows that G was going to leave at the end of the season. But as for a loss, it's going to be a massive, massive loss for us.
So, who are you looking at to probably fill the gap here? Like, what's the first name that comes to your mind?
Yeah, so I think Jessie Fleming was the first name, just because
Right.
she's young enough I think as you're younger, you learn quicker. I think that's just a simple thing that happens.
Yeah.
So she's
Yeah.
like 22, 23 right now. G is 32. So the amount of absorption that Jessie Fleming's going to be taking in. Jessie Fleming's also an Olympic gold medalist with Canada. So she comes with her own accolades.
Right.
She's got great skills. She's nerves of steel when it comes to penalties, but fitting into the Chelsea system, she in an athletic article recently mentioned that adaptation is the biggest thing that she's done coming to England. So I think fitting
Right.
into G's role is going to be what Jessie Fleming does because the likes of Erin Cuthbert, Guru Wrighton, Sophie Ingle, Melanie Leupolds, they all already have their spot around G. So when G leaves, it's not like they'll fill in there because they have their own positions. I think Jessie is
Yeah.
going to come in there. The one who's smart enough to create stuff, and also she does the dirty work. She does the scrappy play, which is intercepting or tackling. G has done a lot of that, and I think Jessie will continue that tradition going forward. But look, it's part of football. People come, people
Yeah.
go. Yeah, G
Yeah.
has created a legacy here that no one's going to forget for a very, very long time. But at some stage, it's the hard truth that players have to move on. They have
Yeah.
different goals in life. Maybe she wants to focus on the South Korean national team a little more, work on the Asian Games, work on the World Cup coming up next year. So we've got to respect that. But again,
Right.
she'll always be blue for us.
Big shoes to fill. Big shoes to fill for anyone who comes into
Yeah,
that particular position, to be very honest. But hopefully, the next name that I'm probably going to talk about is not leaving anytime soon. That is Sam Kerr.
yeah.
I mean, come on. She just even for anyone who's like many people who are probably watching this podcast right now on my channel are fans of the men's team, but even they know about Sam Kerr because of the fact that we don't have a striker like that in the men's team, and we probably can't have a certain striker like that. We're not looking at certain striker like that in the men's team.
Yeah.
So many lessons to probably learn from Sam Kerr, so many lessons to learn from her prolific scoring touch that she has. What are your opinions on Sam Kerr's season so far, and what makes her click, man? What makes her click?
Sam Kerr just thrives under pressure. Like if the game is not high intensity or high pressure, she's like, I don't care about this. It's absolutely, it's crazy. And it's even crazier to think of the disparity of salary when it comes to, let's say, Lukaku, right? You give
Right,
Sam Kerr the money that Lukaku has right now, she will
right.
score maybe 300 goals instead of 30 in a
Easily, we
season.
can give that man. I don't care. We
It's
can easily give that man. Yeah,
it's just incredible. Sam Kerr has won some 7 golden boots in 3 different countries in the past 6 years
right.
continuously. So it really doesn't matter who she's playing, what condition she's playing. She's one of the few Australians in England, which means for every national team camp she flies like 12 hours to Australia, plays and flies back. So just taking everything into account. I mean, that flying is a very small thing, but it's something I think about a lot because you go for international
It takes
break
a
and
lot from
like
you. It takes a
it
lot
takes
from
a
you. Yeah,
big toll on your body. The English players go
yeah.
from London to whatever, somewhere in England, and they play and they come back. But just the amount of toll that it takes on your body for her, I think she's not just someone who taps the ball in. She creates chances. She's got every finishing touch in the book, be it the head, be it a chip. Like if you're chipping
Yeah.
the goalkeeper in an FA Cup final in Wembley with 50,000 people, you are world class. And I think Sam thrives under pressure. It's as simple as that. And you know that having that energy in training is incredible because our goalkeeper has to save her shots every day in training. Our defenders
Yeah.
have to make sure she doesn't get a shot in, and our strikers have someone like Sam Kerr to play alongside. That's what you want. And I think
That's
the simple,
as a
yeah,
goalkeeper, that's the best kind of training you can get because you're probably
absolutely,
facing one of the best strikers, if not the best striker in the WSL,
yeah,
the WSL has ever had. So I think
correct.
that's really great.
It's like 2 years into WSL. She's won 2 golden boots. She's won 2 WSL titles. She's broken the season goal scoring, tally, whatever that is. So
Right.
Sam Kerr is literally the definition of break the bank, invest in your women, you will get returns. It's as simple as that.
Lovely, but then coming to the season itself, if not Sam Kerr, let's not talk about Sam Kerr. If you had to talk
Yeah,
about some of another player that probably must have impressed you the most with the kind of improvement that she has had over the past
yeah.
few seasons, which who would that player be?
I have to pick two, and they are our wing backs or our wingers, Guro Reiten and Erin Cuthbert. So they both are very young. Guro is Norwegian, Erin is Scottish, and they have adapted to a system that Emma Hayes has recently only put in place with the three at the back and then these wing backs running up and down. So it's a very new system to us. So to win the WSL and the FA Cup with a 1-year-old system, I think is absolutely crazy. And those two were at the foundation of this because they are
Right.
attacking for us, they're defending for us. Both of them have played probably, you know, in the number of players who played the most minutes, their names are going to be up there. And someone who's running up and down constantly, playing every game 90 minutes, speaks volumes of their fitness. But not just that, they've scored crucial goals for us. For example, just on the weekend versus Man City, Erin Cuthbert scored a goal. Gur Wrighton scored a
Right.
goal versus Man United in the final title deciding, game of our
Right.
WSL. So just
Right.
thinking about it, the 2 trophies we've won, the 2 finals we've played, they've scored 1 goal each there, and they've created
Hmm.
goals for us. And of course, as wing
Hmm.
backs, they do the dirty work of taking corners and also, the wingers that are flying at them, cutting them down and shutting them off. So I think Erin Cuthbert and Gur Wrighton, I have to pick these two as my players of the season. Sam Kerr does, the goal scoring. She's good at that.
Yeah,
But
exactly. I
these
mean,
two are
that's why
good
I
at
said
second.
apart from Sam Kerr,
Yeah.
because Sam Kerr is
Yeah.
obvious choice every season
Yeah.
almost. But apart from
Yeah.
apart from her, but yeah, there's a certain coincidence with the men's team as well because our fullbacks are creators and as well as sometimes our scorers as well. So, sadly, they
Yeah.
were injured, and sadly they were injured. But in the, at least in the women's team, I think that is something that has not happened. Touch wood, and I think should
That's
not
true.
happen in the future as well. When it comes to
Yeah.
injuries, they haven't been plagued by too many injuries, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Our fullbacks right now.
No, not at all. Luckily, touch
Not
wood.
luckily, yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
But coming to the lessons that we can learn from Chelsea's success over the years, because it's huge, as I said, 11th title, right? So back-to-back league success, 11th title. So there is a certain amount of knowledge to be shared from the success that they have gotten over the past few years, over the past 2 3 years at least.
Hmm.
So what do you think are the lessons that can be incorporated into the Indian women's football circuit? From whatever you have followed from the Indian women's football circuit, what are the shortcomings that you see, and what are the lessons that we can learn from this success of Chelsea?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I think the lessons that Chelsea teaches us are something that can be incorporated anywhere. It's a universal sort of lesson. One is that you
Hmm.
take women's football seriously. I think you start from there, right? It's not, and it's
Right.
not an afterthought. It's not something that you do secondary to men's football, or in India maybe
Hmm.
cricket is given, like, we've seen that
Right.
cricket is given much more importance.
Religious,
So I think
religious
take,
platform.
really, yeah, exactly. So take it
Hmm.
seriously. I think it begins there. The other thing to understand is that there is enough proof, there are enough numbers and everything, that there is a market for it. So if you take it seriously, you will get returns in terms of tickets sold or broadcasting rights or TRP or whatever you look for. There is a market, okay? And you have to understand that it takes a few years. I think that's the third thing to understand from Chelsea, is that you can't like rock up to the football field and overnight expect like 11 trophies in your cabinet. It takes a few
Hmm.
years, and I think that patience has been given to men's football in India, men's football across the world, and now we're seeing that patience reaping rewards in terms of Chelsea's success. So if you translate it to
Right.
India, we need to understand that you start the process now. You sow the seed today, and in 3 4 years you'll have a
Hmm.
tree that's bearing fruit, right? So let's not rush
Right.
things up, because I think the mentality we have today is, oh look, men's football is giving returns, women's football isn't. But we forget that maybe 50 years
Right.
ago, men's football was given 10 years to grow, women's football was banned. And so if you're going
Hmm.
to ban them and give these guys space to grow, then you can't compare them 50 years down the line. So I think patience is something that's very, very necessary. Take it seriously. That means emotional investment, investment of money, investment of time. You make the athletes feel like they are professional athletes. Give them investment of resources. Investment in general is not just money. I'm talking about resources. I'm talking about time, blood, sweat, energy, whatever it requires. And
Right.
it's as simple as that. You will get returns. We've seen that plenty of times, that you put in investment, you will get returns. You cannot expect returns without investment. And investment also means investment of time, which is the big one,
Right.
which means give
Right.
it a couple of years. Give it
Right.
one World Cup cycle or one Asian Cup cycle. Simple example is we hosted the Asian Cup this year. We had the potential to do
Right.
great things. And our team had to withdraw due to a COVID breach.
COVID breach.
I mean, the one team that doesn't have to travel for a tournament is the one team pulling out because of COVID. It's really disappointing to see. And that probably was a step back for our women, for practicing for 5 years or whatever, up to this home tournament, all the media building up to it. It's very, very disappointing to see, as someone who's participating and someone who's covering it and someone who just simply wants to watch Indian women on TV. So
Right.
I think, yeah, those would be a few lessons that you can take away from Chelsea's success.
Lovely. I think this the same thing applies for every for women's cricket as well, because I think you cover women's cricket at like expansively. So
Yeah.
I think the same lessons applies for women's cricket. Or have you seen development in that zone in terms of popularity?
There definitely was a boost in popularity after we came into the final of the ODI World Cup, and then we also made it to the final of the T20 World Cup. So really, if you look at the
Right.
Indian teams, the women's team has made it to more World Cup finals in the recent years. Yet
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
women's IPL is still a four-match exhibition
It
tournament. It
seems
takes
like a farce. It seems like a farce, to
it
be
seems
very honest.
like
But yeah.
it seems like such a big farce. It's played on weekdays at 12 in the afternoon or something. Nobody's gonna show up. Obviously, it's super hot. People are going to work. So you're
and
doing
also and
everything in your
also the fact,
power.
I think it's played on consecutive days. Sometimes teams have to play on consecutive days
Yeah,
for the
sometimes
women's
teams have
IPL.
18 hours. Yeah, teams have 18 hours of rest between two matches. So you're doing
Where is the
everything in your
recovery time?
power.
Yeah.
Correct. You're doing everything in your
Yeah.
power to make sure they don't succeed. To like make sure they have
Yeah.
less rest time, then they don't play as well. Then you say, oh my God, they don't play well. Let's not give them matches. So like it's absolute mayhem in that sense. I think now, because of the popularity of the national team, people are asking questions. People are saying like, this is not going to work because there are a million people who are waiting to watch this happen. So if you keep delaying it, it's going to look like really bad on you. And so every year BCCI says, oh, next year women's IPL, next year. It was supposed to happen last year. This year also, it's just a 4-match exhibition. And now nobody believes it's going to happen until like the bowler has the ball in her hand and is about to run up for a
About to
10
run
team
up.
IPL or a
Yeah.
6-team IPL. So I mean, cricket also, just as football, I think women's sports in general has a long way to go in India.
Yep, yep. You heard from her herself, guys, and I think that's a great time to probably wrap up the chat. That's probably the great line to probably wrap up the chat. Thank you, Radha, for appearing on the pod. This was pretty insightful and pretty much loved having this conversation with you. I hope to have you back later on this channel sometime in the future. And thank you for giving time out. I think so. It has been it. You would have a busy schedule ahead of you, so thank you for taking the time out to do this.
No worries at all. I had a great chat with you as well. And yes, we'll definitely do this again.
All right, thanks guys for actually watching the pod. Do subscribe to She Talks Ball. As I said, you'll get some quality content on that particular channel on YouTube. She also has an Instagram page by the same name, so please do give it a follow, give her some love so that she can probably grow women's sport in India a little bit more. Like this would definitely support her in doing that. And by no means don't forget to follow Aidev's Gurugyan वही channel है. So don't forget to follow Aidev's Gurugyan as well, and please hit the like target that I'll probably put right now. So thank you, Radha, and thank you guys for watching. See you in the next video. Take care and bye bye.